right now it is, I would say the work for Democrats is the opposition, a loyal opposition to a Republican power grab.
Harsh words from House Minority Leader Representative James Beverly on how the Republican majority is handling local redistricting issues. Good evening and welcome to Lawmakers on this day 18 of the Georgia legislative session. I'm Donna Lowry. More from House Minority Leader Beverly coming up in the show during my extended interview with him. In addition to the MAP issues, he addresses several bills dealing with social issues in the schools, including the unmasking legislation. Later, we have two lawmakers in the studio to discuss bills. One will talk about legislation to crack down on organized retail crime, including violent smash and grabs in brick and mortar stores and online sales of stolen merchandise. Another has a bill to eliminate an issue that may prevent some people from running for office, caring for children and their elderly relatives. But first, let's head to the Gold Dome and Capitol correspondent Brenda Waters with the day's news, including an emotional announcement by the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Donna. Much to talk about tonight, from the revision of maps in Gwinnett and Augusta Richmond counties to another legislator announcing he will not seek re-election.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've always had a plan. Just never really planned how to do this. Today I'm announcing I will not be seeking re-election for another term.
After his announcement from the House floor, Representative Terry England spoke to me one-on-one about his decision.
It's just time. I mean, 18 years went by in a flash. Had never dreamed that I'd be here that long. I truly ran the first time thinking I'd be lucky and blessed if I got 6 or 8 years and then turn it over to somebody else. And I turned around once and it'd been 12 years, and then turned around again, it was 18 years. And it's just, I'm tired. And just, I need to be home with family and friends.
What do you think your legacy will be?
Well, having done appropriations for 12 years, 24 balanced budgets, leaving with a substantial reserve fund that we didn't have when I became chairman, because we were coming right out of the recession, still battling with the recession, but leaving things in pretty good shape for the next person.
Several contentious bills regarding district maps that had already passed in the Senate appeared in the House today. Senate Bill 457 passed in the House, 9763. It would revise the districts for county commissioners.
The maps are just, the maps are fair. I really look forward to working together on this and continuing to work together for a wonderful community. I hope you'll support SB 457.
The fear motivating this map itself is evident as well. The white population in Augusta Richmond County has decreased over the last 10 years, and black population has increased. So what Republicans have done is packed and cracked black voters into District 4, that's my district, District 5, District 6, all just to appease the need for power. But this map is about more than just a Republican power grab. It's also about appeasing a small portion of residents who are afraid of the growing diversity of this county.
Senate Bill 458 mirrors SB 457's maps. SB 458 outlines the school board districts for Augusta Richmond County. Both bills passed in the House. For Gwinnett, Senate Bill 369 would make the Gwinnett County School Board nonpartisan. This measure drew some sparks.
Injecting partisan politics into the classroom does not serve the best purposes of educating Georgia students, and making the school board nonpartisan is a clear way to address that.
We do not support this bill, and I'm asking all of you all to vote no on this piece of legislation. Yes, judges should be nonpartisan, but school board should be who they are.
Senate Bill 369 passed, and it's on its way to the governor's desk. Also today, Republican women lawmakers from both chambers joined the launch of a new organization aimed at mobilizing conservative female voters.
Conservative women are too often sidelined and even silenced in the political women's movement of today. Well, that ends now with Women Lead Right. We are a group We are a group of hundreds of local grassroots in-town conservative women working together to remind our neighbors, our friends, and our co-workers that the Republican Party is the party that leads on the issues most important to Georgia's women.
The group Women Lead Right is looking to win back those they say are the reliable female voters who may have voted for President Joe Biden. In the Senate, SB 346 was passed. The bill will prohibit the state of Georgia from entering contracts with businesses owned or operated by the Chinese government. And House Bill 826, which would allow West Cobb residents to vote for the proposed city of Lost Mountain, also passed. The bill will now be sent to the governor's office for his signature. And on Tuesday, Governor Brian Kemp signed HB 871, which allows citizens of East Cobb to vote on their bid for cityhood. And finally, I bet you didn't know this, it's National Cabbage Day here at the Capitol. I like mine fried with a little green peppers. What about you, Donna?
Oh, definitely steamed with green peppers. Sounds good, Brenda. Thank you.
All right, all right.
Throughout the legislative session on our show, we do longer interviews with legislative leaders and agency department heads. Tonight, my conversation with House Minority Leader James Beverly. I asked him about a number of issues, starting with his assessment as a Democratic leader of the session so far.
Right now, it is, I would say the work for Democrats is the opposition, a loyal opposition to a Republican power grab. And it's a Republican power grab. One, and I'll tell you examples. One is local control out the window. So when it comes to redistricting and reapportionment and drawing local maps, you can look at Gwinnett, you can look at Cobb, you can look at this. Local folk are saying one thing, but up here, Republicans are saying something different. So you take a small minority of folk in the Republican Party who are saying, we don't care what the will of the majority is, we're going to throw that out. Power grab number one, local control. Power grab number two, which I haven't seen, I've never seen this, is they've thrown the rule book out. And so when you have to develop sort of local control and what the interests are for a community, we have an unspoken rule, and it's written also, but it's unspoken because everyone knows it, and that is the local delegation gets to determine what the trajectory is of that local space. And they have absolutely suspended that and said, no, we're not going to worry about local control anymore, no more home rule. We're going to go to the general body to vote on things that should be locally administered. And that has created all kinds of problems with decorum, ethics up here, and it's been brutal because no one expected that when the session started. We knew it was going to be a political year, right? It's politics. But nobody expected the rule book to be thrown out and to not be adhered to. And that's been a part of their power grab.
Do you feel as Democrats you're kind of treading water to keep up with it all?
No, I'm sort of an optimistic guy, and I really am. I don't, because here's what the thing is. Like, the question is, why are y'all doing this, right? And they see the exact same thing I see. I know they do. Now, I'm talking to the speaker or the governor, but I know y'all see it, and that's the demographics of Georgia have changed. Over the last 10 years, 1 million people have moved into Georgia. 1 million. 100,000 people per year have moved into Georgia. 95% of them are people of color. Those people are not adhering to the same rules as they used to be, not the same type of structure that used to be. And so they're bringing in different ideas, different challenges, different ideologies about what the future looks like. And Republicans are recycling the same old foolishness. But Democrats are saying, we see an opportunity that's on the horizon that's coming, and it's driven by the demographics. And that's why I'm hopeful, because they're going to have to answer for getting rid of the rules. They're going to have to answer for getting rid of home rule and local control. They're going to have to answer for that. And the public's going to tell them, I suspect, very soon, we've had enough.
Do you see some of this going into the courts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, reapportionment last year was a bear. I mean, being a first-year minority leader, nobody, I don't think there's anybody who envies this position, because you had to deal with some stuff where people are worried about their district, the districts that they live in. Am I going to be able to represent the same constituency that I had before? Well, this 1 million people created all kinds of issues for us, right? My district had to expand by 6,000 people, 7,000 people. State House had to go by 20,000. They had to pick up 20,000 more people. Congressional, almost 100,000 people they had to pick up. So you got to figure out, well, how do you navigate this new environment? And in that, how do you find your true north when you're trying to do what's right for your community? And I think a lot of people, that frayed some edges, to say the least. And yeah, so we got to figure that out. So it's going to court.
The Republicans have said, to counter what you're saying, that when the Democrats were in control, a lot of this same stuff happened, throwing out the playbook, all of that. Yeah. How do you answer that?
It's probably somebody else's lifetime ago, right? I mean, I've been here 10, 11 years. I haven't seen it. And maybe the history is there. But one of the things about the beauty of being an American, quite frankly, for me, is that you can learn from the past and you don't have to repeat it. Like, we're not in a space where you have rules that are not adjusted for what the time is now. We're not in a communist country. We're in a space where people evolve, ideas evolve, and those rules and laws have to keep up with these new ideas and new people and new ways of being. I mean, think about this. The time that they were talking about the internet probably didn't exist, right? The internet wasn't there, and right now I could barely get off my phone without doing something or saying something to someone, almost FaceTime in real time. But the stuff they're talking about has happened generations ago. And so the world has evolved. The Republican ideology has not. And I'm sure the people are going to tell them exactly how they feel in the next 8 months.
Are you getting any of your Democratic priorities through at all?
Absolutely not, right? Because I mean, a part of being in power is you don't, at least here for now, they don't respect the will of the minority, which is unfortunate. I think there are small things that I'm happy about, and that is mental health, right? Mental health parity. I think the speaker has taken that up, and that we need to really think about that. We just came out of a pandemic, quite frankly, and good Lord, right? I mean, that was tough, and we're still in it. I mean, I said came out of it, but mentally we're sort of getting out of it, but we're still in it physically. But people had to go through some strange things during this 2 years. I mean, you had to evaluate yourself, your family. Is everybody okay? How do you go out? How do you interact? Can I go to a cookout? Can I go out and have dinner? That's some tough stuff. And that's just outside. What about the internal stuff? You can't watch but so much TV. And so people have to process all this stuff in real time, and it's created some real problems for us as a community, as humanity. And I think that in the mental health space, we got to have parity in this space, and now's the time to do it.
But there has been more money coming into the state, so there are some people who are going to have to get more money. You know, the teachers are going to get more money, state employees, and there are some things that are going to be funded, as you mentioned, in healthcare. So in that sense, that's for everybody, right? It doesn't matter, both sides of the aisle.
It is, and you know, I'd just like to thank President Biden for that. Right? I mean, like, listen, I know they want to take credit for the overflow. No, it's the Biden administration. It's the Biden administration that made sure that we have the money that we need to get us through the pandemic. And that's not lost on any Democrat. Now, not you, but the media, right, would like to say, well, we got this. No! The reason why we have surpluses is because the Biden administration's monetary policy made it such that we could come in, that money could come in from the federal government to offset what we've lost through this pandemic. And so I would applaud Democrats at the top for that. But I thank Republicans for at least appropriating it in ways in which we can agree to for the most part.
I got to ask you about another thing that's big this session, and that is dealing with social issues when it comes to schools. So CRT, banning what are considered obscene books by some, those kinds of things. The unmasking bill that has just dropped.
It's unfortunate. It feels like, you know, there was a saying I heard recently, Jim Crow 2.0. Yeah. Okay, so some of the social issues are being recycled. One of which is that you're telling teachers, wait a minute, we can't teach students history. And I know they want to parse it out and make it this kind of history, that kind. It's history. It is what brought us to this moment. And to say that you can't teach a certain subject matter in schools time and time again is an assault on who we are as a community. We have the ability as parents. I have 3 kids who went through public schools. They're all, 2 of them finished college. I got 1 more to go. So that's going to be good this year. Hopefully, Jacob, do your work. He'll be done soon. But the reality is that parents have some control over how their kids do what they do at home. But we should have a general approach to education. Let's give our kids an opportunity to self-select into what they may want to become by giving them a complete history of where we come from. And they're not doing that. And they think it's a social issue, but it's a broader issue that's affecting us all. So that's on schools. You can't talk about critical race theory and getting rid of that. That's something for the ethereal people in law schools at Harvard to talk about how we adjudicate the money to go to people. That's not what we're talking about here in Georgia. In Georgia, what we're talking about is how do you educate kids with our true factual history. One, mandates, mass mandates, right? Another problem. And I'm not, you know this, I'm not a guy who's like all these problems. I'm not that guy. But it is a problem when they're pushing it politically as far as mandates. In the Capitol right now, you can't walk into the House of Representatives without having a mask on. You just can't. It is a mandate for grown folk to go into the House with a mask on. We have to be tested twice a week. You can't even come in there if you're not tested. So how do we say to us, right, to representatives, you have to do this for the general good, for the general public, for us representatives, but in schools, y'all do what you want to do. It's hypocrisy at the highest levels. And it's unfortunate they continue to do that because it's a political year where people are trying to score political points. I get it, right? But not at the risk of the general populace. And that's what's happening. That's when policies become bad, and that's why I hope that the Georgians who are watching this, real talk, will get rid of this foolishness because enough is enough.
House Minority Leader Representative James Beverly. You can find much more of my interview with him on gpb.org. He talks about Medicaid expansion, jobs, unemployment, and what Democrats may want to accomplish if their candidate becomes the next governor. Coming up, two legislators join me to talk about bills dealing with crime and retail sales and removing some of the obstacles that may keep people from running for office. You're watching Lawmakers on GPB.
Cigna is a proud partner of Georgia Public Broadcasting and Georgia Lawmakers. Cigna's mission is to improve the health, well-being, and peace of mind of those we serve. More at Cigna.com to learn how you can help support your employees' physical and emotional well-being.
Lawmakers is made possible by Georgia Farm Bureau. With over 80 years of helping everyone understand the importance of agriculture in our state. After all, ag is Georgia's #1 industry. Food and fiber production represents over $74 billion in output of Georgia's strong economy. The Georgia Farm Bureau legislative team works to represent producers across Georgia at the state capitol during the session and year-round. Georgia Farm Bureau, the voice of Georgia farmers.
Georgia Humanities, connecting people and communities across Georgia to encourage conversation, education, and understanding. Find out more at www.georgiahumanities.org.
We are the Southern Environmental Law Center. At SELC, we not only take on the toughest environmental challenges, we win, forcing the removal of more than 250 million tons of toxic coal ash, defeating repeated attempts to bring offshore drilling to our coasts, and securing clean air and water protections for communities across our region. Your most powerful environmental defender is rooted right here in the South.
Welcome back to Lawmakers. We're going to spend some time now talking about several issues, including crime and the reselling of stolen merchandise, and allowing candidates to use campaign funds in a way that may encourage more people to run for office. Joining me now are Republican Representative Houston Gaines of Athens and Democratic Senator Nikki Merritt of Precinct. Welcome to Lawmakers. And I want to start with you because what happened in the House today with Chairman England deciding to leave really affects you in the way that you guys have been close. You share districts next to each other. Tell me how you're feeling right now.
We do. With Chairman England, just an unbelievable person and a great friend, a mentor to me. When I first got elected to the House, he's just been so good to me over the last 3 years, and I've been to visit with him at his farm in Auburn several times, and we live right up the road from one another. But him and Cindy, they're both just great people, and he's been a tremendous leader for our state and certainly going to be missed. As we continue forward. I mean, past, I think, 24 balanced budgets as appropriations chairman, and just done a tremendous job for our state. Yeah, it was certainly emotional today, and so much so that they had to, the Speaker had to recess for a little bit and then come back so everybody could, congratulate him and wish him well. So I want to spend some time with you, each of you, talking about different issues. And Representative Gaines, you're the sponsor of the Informed Consumers Act, and it's
we should say SB 332. It's headed for a House vote after receiving unanimous support in the Senate. And there's a lot to it, so let's break it down. One part of it deals with retail crime, and explain that piece of it.
Sure. Well, I want to thank Senator John Albers, who carried this legislation through the Senate, did a tremendous job and got a unanimous vote in the Senate. Earlier this week, we had a press conference with Senator Albers, Attorney General Carr, to talk about this important issue because we have seen a significant uptick in organized retail crime. In fact, in 2019, right before COVID hit us all, nearly $70 billion in stolen goods from retailers in this country. And so it's a major issue that we've seen, whether it's gang activity, they're going in stealing products from retails and then going online and reselling and making a profit, which they're using to fund other illegal activities. So something that we feel like is so important that we shine a light on that. And part of this legislation is making sure that consumers know who they're dealing with, and that online marketplaces, sites we go to every day like Amazon, eBay, that they're collecting that information from their resellers on their websites.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen the video of this big smash and grabs. 30 seconds, they're in,
right.
Tons of people, they bring the stuff out. Didn't really think about what else happens to that merchandise. So it's similar to the way the bill is treating them like pawn shop owners when it comes to Amazon and eBay and these resellers online, right?
That's right. And last year the General Assembly passed important legislation to make organized retail crime a felony when you resell over $25,000. And so this is an important step moving forward. Criminals, frankly, we've got to keep up with them because now they're using the online marketplace to resell those goods. And so this legislation is important to provide consumers and folks online as they're going and shopping that they know who they're dealing with, and then we can track down these criminals that are perpetrating this online, the organized retail crime that they're committing.
Now, there's an effort to do this on the federal level. Where is that?
That's correct. So there's a very similar, 98% similar bill traveling through Congress. Unfortunately, Congress can't move as quick as the Georgia General Assembly. And Congress, it takes forever to pass a bill, and they don't know how to balance a budget, but that's a whole different topic. But in Congress, it takes forever, so it's important that we address this issue at the state level, and that's why we're moving forward on this legislation now. But Congress, we hope over time, will address this across all 50 states as well.
Does it address a punishment?
So what this bill does is it allows the Attorney General to go in if the online marketplaces aren't collecting this information, to make sure that online marketplaces are doing so. And so it does empower the Attorney General to enforce this bill.
Okay, so we're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to talk about your bill, Senator Merritt, SB 523, and it deals with campaign finance laws and changing it to make sure it encourages more people to get involved in politics.
That's
Talk
right.
about it.
That's exactly it, Donna. What we found is sometimes having a young family or having dependent care can influence your ability to run. A lot of times, and we do know this, women are 15 times more likely to be the majority sponsor for dependent care and child care, and that can be a barrier for them with running. Child care costs are very high right now, and when you're running a campaign, you can't draw a salary while you're running the campaign, and that impacts your child care, or if you're taking care of a dependent, how does that get paid for? So this bill would allow campaign funds to be used for child care, but also for dependent care, someone that you're caring for with a disability or medical care. I know we have some legislators with aging parents, so this legislation would cover that as well.
Yeah, for people who don't understand, what can you use campaign finance money for?
Right, that's a good question. And right now it is just necessary expenses. So it covers lodging, equipment, travel, postage, staff salaries. So if we're thinking staff salaries and someone's running for a campaign, then your child care person or your dependent care person is an extension of your staff, and that should be covered. I don't see why it shouldn't be at this time, because we are already using it for those specific cases that I'm telling you.
Yeah, so it mentions in the bill caregiving services and ordinary and necessary expenses.
Right.
And you think that you believe that falls along the lines of this care?
Absolutely.
What kind of response are you getting when you talk to people about this?
It's bipartisan, actually. We got bipartisan support. A lot of what people don't understand is not just for young mothers. We have young fathers in our Senate right now. They were very open to this piece of legislation. We have, again, legislators that are caring for elderly parents, and they were very interested and open to this piece of legislation. So it's been kind of like, let me get some more information. Oh, this sounds good. Or I really see where I would be able to benefit by using those campaign funds to pay for those services.
Have you looked into whether or not other states are doing this?
Other states are doing it. There are 25 states that have brought this statute in line, and it is federal regulation right now. And this bill actually comes from Luber Shirley. She is she's the founder of Vote Mama. And in 2018, she ran for Congress, and she had small children herself during that time. And she petitioned the FEC to use her campaign funds for childcare. And they granted that petition. And since 2018, that landmark decision, there are like 50 candidates, moms, dads, Democrats, Republicans, congressional, presidential candidates that are using those funds to pay for childcare now. So again, 25 states have already brought the statute up, and it's time for Georgia to codify that as well.
I wonder, does this affect you personally in terms of anything, running for office? Is that one reason you came up with this?
It's one reason. My kids are older now, so, it wouldn't, apply to me now that they're in college, but I have aging parents. I have parents that are going to be in their 70s, so there might be a time I will have to take care of them and take some time, from the campaign trail and making sure that they're being taken care of. So. Absolutely.
Yeah, so there are people you think would run for office if some of these barriers were taken away.
Absolutely. And what it would bring, those barriers that it would kind of break would give us candidates that would bring more diversity to our legislature. We might hear from voices we don't normally hear from. We might have some candidates that that are representing shared experiences and more working class people that feel like, hey, I think I can run. And I think we need that down in the legislature. We need to hear from more diverse voices, those voices that are able to represent our voters and our community and our constituency that we have now.
Okay. Representative Gaines, one of the things that we talked about earlier was that something passed last year that dealt with gangs that you feel is maybe making a difference right now. Talk about that.
Well, one of the things, an important piece of legislation we passed in the House earlier this week or last week, it's all running together. Even though we're only in day, I don't even know what day we're on.
I think we're in 18, yes.
18. So it's, but we're moving along quickly, but we passed important legislation to allow the Attorney General to have concurrent prosecutorial ability to go after gangs in our state, because one of the things that unfortunately we have seen is certain DAs are not going after prosecuting gang crimes. This gives the Attorney General that power to make sure that he has a role. Gangs cross jurisdictional lines, and so this allows our Attorney General to go after gang crimes in our state, and I think it's a really important measure that's going to help protect families in this state.
Quickly, why do you think some of these areas aren't going after the gangs?
I don't know why a DA would choose to not do their job and prosecute crimes. Unfortunately, we've seen DAs in this state who are just choosing not to prosecute entire classes of crimes, which I think is a dereliction of their duty. And so that's why it's important we pass measures like this to keep families safe in Georgia.
I think it's just a tough, and you need a lot of people supporting you to do it, I guess. So
empowering the Attorney General will provide additional resources, and again, it's concurrent. So it's not taking power away from the district attorneys, but it is giving additional authority to the Attorney General.
Okay. Interesting bills from both of you. Thank you for coming in to talk about it.
Thank
you.
And thank you for joining us tonight on Lawmakers. You can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter at GPB News using the hashtag GPB Lawmakers. Also, don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. on your GPB station for Political Rewind, hosted by Bill Nigut. The General Assembly returns after the Monday holiday, so we'll see you again on Tuesday for Legislative Day 19. Have a good night.